I'm Beth Neville for Art and Life, and I'm outside in our wonderful garden on this late August day. Actually, tomorrow is my daughter's wedding anniversary. She'll have been married 18 years, so congratulations, Naomi. We're going to be talking about negative and positive shapes today and this week. And we're using two flowers. We're using the purple hostas as the positive shape, and we're using the white phlox as the negative shape. And the reason we're doing that is if you're doing watercolor, the white of the phlox will be represented by the white paper. And you fill in around the flower, around the white, to create the sense of a white flower. That's very confusing for people learning to do watercolor, but I hope this lesson will help you a little bit. Now, phlox are very important to me because when I was a child, up to teenage years, my sister and I would go to Lake Geneva in Wisconsin, where there was a beautiful lake, Lake Geneva, and what was called a 40-foot strip. It was 40 feet wide, leading from the farm cottages down to Lake Geneva. And about midway, there was a bench on this forested path, and a place to rest and catch your breath as you went up and down the hill. And it was surrounded by phlox, and that wonderful smell, that wonderful aroma of the smell of phlox is what I associate with Lake Geneva and those wonderful days of swimming in that beautiful lake north of Chicago. So phlox are very special to me. I've done several paintings of hostas, which we'll see on the screen, I hope, and but none of phlox. I've never taken on phlox. I don't know why, I just haven't. So that's what we're going to be doing, and I hope you also are enjoying the weather, and we'll be up on my porch soon and working with oil and watercolor to do negative and positive shapes. Thank you. We're up on the porch, and I've received as a gift a wedding bouquet. Bob and I have been married for many years, so it's not our wedding, but it was a very nice gift from Mary Driscoll, and designed by Christine Paxia, a member of our Milton Garden Club, who actually does a show for Milton Cable TV on gardening. So as you can see, in addition to being a gardener, she's also a brilliant floral designer. And here we have the white roses, which would be, if you're going to paint them, you'd have to show them as being surrounded by a darker color. And the delphinium, it would be the positive shape, and the lilies would be another negative shape. So in a complex bouquet like this, which I am not going to attempt to paint today, this would take hours to paint this, you have both negative and positive shapes. And behind, I love the color combination here, is my sculpture I've done from peach baskets based on photographs from Cape Cod and 3 antique peach baskets. So I just love the combination of the white and blue, violet and blue here, and the violet, white, and blue in the Cape Cod sculpture. Just a very nice combination. All right, we're going to stop for a moment, and I'm going to get out my paints, and we're going to begin discussing this topic in more detail. Okay, we're set up here on the porch out of the heat of the sun, and we're going to start with the simplest flower. The hostas is much easier to draw than the phlox, because the phlox is made up of multiple parts, whereas the hostas is really quite a simple flower. Have we got a good shot of it there, Robert?
That's good.
Okay. And it's even easier to draw if you turn the open flowers to the side, so you see a silhouette. This is a silhouette. This is foreshortened looking down. We've talked before about how complicated it is to draw something foreshortened, but in silhouette it's easier. So we're going to think of this flower as the positive shape. And this is basically a problem that works it works both in oil, acrylic, and watercolor, all three, any media, but it's a particular problem in watercolor because you have to leave, if you're going to paint the white flower, you have to leave the flower white. So let's start drawing this. I'm going to kind of arbitrarily, I think I'm going to put it on this side, and we'll put the phlox over here. So I'm going to begin, I'm trying to decide which way I want to draw this flower, to the side or this side. I think I'm going to draw it to this side. So it has a long tubular structure, and then the petals come down. That's the foreshortened petal. And over here, I'm not going to spend too much time fussing with this drawing because I really want to get into the painting. So this is not going to be my most accurate drawing. It's just going to be kind of almost schematic. And I'm going to ignore all the little reproductive parts of the flower. So that represents this one. Now up here, all right, I'm going to draw it all in violet. I'm going to draw the stem. There's a little flange here. I don't have my green markers out here, so we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to draw in green, violet. Okay, here's another one here, and this one comes up, very foreshortened. You see another one over here, doing that, and then there's a very dense little cluster up at the top of undeveloped flowers. Kind of too bad to have to cut this one off, right, Robert? Because we don't have a lot of hostas in the garden. The rabbits have discovered that they love hostas. One of the sad parts about my current garden, they are munching their little devilish hearts out. We're going to continue the stem down now, and I'm going to pretend there are a few more flowers here. So I'm going to change, if you want more flowers, you just change the position of one, and here are all the pistils and so on coming out here. Then this one goes up, this one goes to the side, out here, one behind, and one over here, and another one going over there. We'll pretend this one is going in behind. And let's elongate this one. All right, that's better. Yeah, elongate it. And these curve up and have all those little parts, double lines. Okay, the stem is coming down. The stem on the hostas is very straight. Now that allows me to put another foreshortened one in here, and with a lot of petals coming straight towards us. Stem down, then there's a little leaf structure here. All right, let's say. All right, I think that's enough. We've got two flowers, the bud head. Let's add a little few more clusters up here. You always remember, it's what's on the paper that's important, or the canvas. Not this. This dies, it goes away, nobody sees it, nobody cares. What we care about is what's on here. So if we need to add another flower, we can add another flower. Who cares if there's only one open flower here? In fact, let's just get a little bolder with this. Let me tip this up. Let's just pretend there's another flower coming out here. Yeah, let's do another one. We'll pretend it's part of this. Okay, and I'm going to have it come to the side over here. So it's going to come around, all right, and then it kind of bulges out, and we see this. I'm drawing this petal here, which curls back. That's why we get that little triangle. Then it comes out here. This starts up here, and it flips over. All right, it does a flip, which is always fun to draw. And this one does a flip, comes out, flips over. All right, that was kind of cool. And let's draw, we're kind of making these up. We're not going to get too excited about that. And then we see another very nice petal curving down. And the last petal, nope, there's another petal in here. Makes a kind of a dramatic curve. And then there's another petal here. And you can see I've exaggerated the size of this quite a bit. which I think is just fine. So it starts small here, small, bigger, and then down at the bottom, quite radically exaggerated in terms of size, is this one. Okay, let's say, that's it for the hostas. Now, which is going to be the positive shape. I'll show you how we're going to do that in a minute. Okay, the Phlox, much more difficult to draw. Now, in terms of composition, I can see up here, this is going this way. So I'm going to put the Phlox here and kind of curve. We're going to end up with a triangular composition. Going to go up, up, Phlox here. And this time, we're going to really exaggerate the leaves. Now, as I've said many times on Art and Life, you can't draw anything, really, until you understand its structure. So let's take a moment. There are many, many little tubular flowers coming out. And at the end of each tubular flower, it's a lot, in some respects, like a chrysanthemum, although this is a perennial. A chrysanthemum is a shrub. No, I mean a hydrangea. I'm sorry, hydrangea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, it's got 5 little internal petals. And as I said, it's going to be much more complex to draw. I'm going to start with a whole one that's near me. And I'm going to be using a blue. And they, like a hydrangea, they come out and then do a little triangle and go back. That's 1, 2, 3. So it comes out, curves, and back. Out, little triangle here, 1, 2, 3, and a little tiny dot in the middle. So that's your basic form. All right, let's take another one up here. Goes out, over and down, comes out, triangle, back, triangle, back, triangle, back, 1, 2, 3, 4, and one more. All right. Now I'm going to begin drawing some of the ones that I see coming out here. I see one coming out, ending in a little bulb. It hasn't opened. I see another one coming out here, a little kind of a bud. And then back in here, I see these coming down. All right, they're coming down to the central stem. There's some little tiny leaves here. We'll get those in. There's another one coming up over here. This is a much looser structure than the hydrangea. So now I'm going to kind of almost fudge in some of these. And now I'm beginning to see over here ones that are just like with the hydrangea. We're seeing them from the side. So we're drawing flat leaves coming in. Let's get a couple more of these. I'm going to tip this a little bit. Got to tip it so I can see more of the structure of the Phlox. I have wonderful childhood memories of Phlox on Lake Geneva in Wisconsin. We would walk up a path from the lake, and it was called the 40-foot strip because it was 40 feet wide. And at halfway point, there was a bench where you could sit and rest. And surrounding the bench were beautiful white and purple phlox, sort of a woodland, typical Wisconsin woodland setting on the 40-foot strip. And it allowed you to rest and smell the absolute delicious, I'm really fudging these here now because I want to kind of speed up. I'm just going to kind of hint at some of these, and we'll put a few of these in over here. All right, we're just going to kind of finish out this Phlox because I really want to get into how to paint it, which is the most important thing. All right, now we're coming down here with some leaves. We're really going to zip along on the leaves. There's one coming out here, another one doing this, a leaf coming up here. All right, and then we come down, another leaf here, one over here. All right, leaf, 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 leaf. Whoops, point on the leaf. They are not rounded. Okay, point, point, point. Okay, all right. Yeah, good enough. All right, how about a couple more? Let's get a couple more of these little lines in here. Okay, all right. Now, okay, there's our drawing. Now, here's the situation. I'm going to put that away. I hope I can show you how you do this. This is not watercolor paper, so we've got a problem there. 2, the magic marker, the markers are going to bleed. That is, they're going to run. So that's going to be a problem. Okay, and I'm out, don't have my rose paint handy, so that'll be a problem. Okay, we're going to deal with the Phlox first. And all I'm going to do is with a very diluted brush, water, I'm going to come in here, and this brush is too big. I need a smaller brush. Okay, let's see if this one will come to a better point. Okay, all right. Now we have to remember, this is not watercolor paper. So all we can do here is just dab in the paint and hope that it gives you some idea of what the color would be like if we were actually working on watercolor paper. All right, so we're painting the flower. That's the most important thing. You see how I'm painting the flower? It's the positive thing. It's the most important thing. All right, painting the flower. I'm not going to paint the green. I think that'll really be devastating. We're not going to paint that, but we're going to come in here. All right. That's good enough. Okay? Okay, there's the flower. Now, what are we going to do with the Phlox? Let's take care of the leaves first. The leaves we're going to make green, traditional green. You know, let's just get that out of the way. Green, a little bit more into the olive green. Okay. Oh, while we've got the green here, let's do this, just for the fun of it. Okay, let's get this. Okay. All right, there we go. Now, the Phlox are white. What do we do in watercolor? You have to paint the background. So the white Phlox are going to be called what we call the negative shape. And you're going to paint around behind them. And for that purpose, I've picked an extreme color, a very extreme color. This is Prussian blue, a blue I hardly ever use. And this is going to be very difficult to demonstrate on non-watercolor paper. But you leave the Phlox white. So you come around here and paint the space behind it and leave the white flower. All right, so we're coming in here. Now, believe me, if I were making a real painting out of this, I would be paying a lot more attention to the shapes of the flower. Because when I paint flowers, I tend to be meticulous. I like the way they look. I'm a big, gardener, love gardening, belong to the garden club. My father's a farmer. My mom and dad were farmers, apple farmers. So I learned how to. My first job in life was to go out. My mom would say, Beth, I was about 3 or 4. You go out and pick the bouquet and make the flower arrangement for the party, for our 4th of July party. So I would go out in the field and I would find wild Queen Anne's lace, and I would find all those scraggly, beautiful field flowers, the purples and the blues, and I would find goldenrod and all the wonderful fall flowers, New England asters or whatever, and come back and make an arrangement out of them. So by the time I was 8 or 9, I had a really pretty good idea of how to make a very standard arrangement of flowers in a vase. Very orthodox, you know, nice circle, everything fit in the vase, tall flowers in the middle, shorter flowers around the edge. Now, we would come in here. This hasn't dried, so we have to be very, very cautious. We do not want to run into our purple, which is still wet, but maybe you can get an idea here about how this would go. So, you see the green? Watercolor rule, wet colors run together, wet colors run together. There is a sample, the green, leaked off into the blue. Don't despair, just blend it in and say, nah, I meant it, you know, right. We meant it to happen that way. That was planned. Well, of course, no, it wasn't planned, it just happened. Okay, I'm not going to hold it up because it's also runny, but I'm hoping that you get the idea. This is the positive shape, you paint the flower. This is the negative shape, you leave the flower behind, and you leave the flower white. If you were painting in oil, you would paint the flower with white paint. But in watercolor, the negative shape is very important. So I hope you learned something about negative and positive shapes and have an idea about how to paint this. Look at this running. Whee! Running downhill. We have to stop holding it up. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week with another topic. Okay, bye-bye.